It's new lens day. I mean, I've been using the lens for a week, but it's new to you. So let's talk about it. If you are new here, my name is Leigh, and I make videos every week on photography and photography adjacent topics. I just always have a camera in my hand, so subscribe if that sounds interesting to you. Today, I will share my thoughts and my photos and videos from the just announced Sigma 28 to 70mm f2.8 DG/DN contemporary lens. I've been using the Leica L-mount version of the lens, but it is also available in Sony E-mount. Let's take a look at a day I spent on a hike in the desert with my Leica SL2 and this new lens, and then we'll talk details and specs. We'll come back to those images in a bit, but first, let's do a quick size comparison to give you some perspective on this guy. First, here's my Leica SL2. Here's my Sony Alpha 7 R4 because, like I said, I have the L-mount lens here, but there is a Sony E-mount version available as well. Now for some lenses. Here is the Leica L-mount mid-range zoom, the 24 to 90mm f2.8 to 4. And this is the Sony 24 to 70mm f2.8 lens for E-mount. One of these things is not like the others. They're slightly different focal length ranges, you might be saying, and that's true. The Leica is a variable aperture zoom lens, you might be saying, and yes, that is also true. But the thing that gets me is the size. I mean, what is this? It doesn't even seem fair to the other lenses, and it's light. Actually, Sigma says that right now, as it is being released, it is the smallest and lightest full-frame f2.8 standard zoom for mirrorless systems. But okay, size is one thing. It might even be an important thing to you, but usually image quality and the overall usability of the lens are important too. So let's talk about those things, starting with usability. The intention of Sigma's contemporary line of lenses is that they're everyday lenses. Robust but not oversized. Typically they're relatively compact and lightweight. They're easy to grab and bring with you on any given day. The Leica SL2 isn't exactly a small camera body, but I felt comfortable using the combination together, and I'd certainly be just as happy with it on the slightly smaller Sony body. The lens is quite minimal. There is a zoom ring, of course, and also an autofocus manual focus switch and a focus ring. It also comes with a hood. Now, the materials used in the making of this lens aren't as tough as the Sigma Art line of lenses or my Leica lens. This lens is polycarbonate. Actually, it's called thermally stable composite, which just means that it is made in a way so that it is robust and reliable. The front element has a water and oil repellent coating, and the mount is dust and splash proof, which means that the lens isn't completely weather sealed, but it can definitely take some drops of water or snow. I have certainly taken other contemporary lenses out in wet weather. This time it was the opposite. I took the 28-70 on a long and hot hike in the very dusty desert. And the rings here turn nicely, but they're firm. The lens doesn't zoom out on its own when it's hanging around my neck, and when I have used manual focus, I can pinpoint the right spot. The ring isn't easy to bump out of place. Another impressive feature of this lens is that the focusing distance is quite short. At 28 millimeters, you can focus at 2.8 inches. When I was photographing cactus up close, even when I wasn't zoomed all the way out at 28 millimeters, I kept having to take my face away from the camera just to check to make sure I wasn't about to poke the camera or myself with the cactus needles. The DN part of the title means that the lens was designed specifically for mirrorless cameras. This lens has quick and nearly silent autofocus, and that means that you can use continuous autofocus during video shooting without lens noise. I definitely appreciate that. I use my photography and being in the outdoors, like I was on this hike, as a sort of therapy, and having a quiet camera setup helps me stay in the flow. It helps make the camera itself disappear, if you will. I'm able to create my art without being distracted by a noisy or large or heavy setup. Really, if I don't like using a piece of gear, it won't get much use. So I always spend quite a bit of time in my reviews discussing usability, the actual use of the gear. And with this lens, the usability, namely the portability, is a major feature of the lens. But let's move on to the images and video I captured with this lens on my Leica SL2. This lens has a new combination of physical elements and coatings which minimize flare and ghosting along with other optical aberrations, and you end up with very sharp images, even at the edges. Let's take a look at the first still image I captured on trail of this wooden sign. This was captured at f8 in RAW, and I have applied no adjustments. Zooming way into the center, you can see how small this portion of the frame is up here. It is very crisp. And moving away from the center, look at this screw. It is so crisp. I would expect most lenses to excel at f8, but let's take a look at an image shot wide open at f2.8, again with no adjustments. Zooming into this patch of the cactus, it's obviously very sharp, both literally and in the photo. And even in the corner where this portion is within the depth of field, it's very sharp. And beyond sharpness, you can see the quality of the bokeh here, both in the cactus that is just outside of the depth of field, but also in the nature that is further away and has become completely abstract. This lens is expected to be available March 12th of 2021 at a US price of $899. And we should pause here for a moment to acknowledge that price point. I'm going to put some prices of some of the other mid-range zooms up on the screen right now. Yeah, it's less costly on top of being less big and heavy. The bottom line with this lens is that you can do a whole wide variety of photography with it. Depth of field effects, close-up, wide, mild telephoto. You can capture beautiful photos and video, and it's just easy to have with you. My own experience with it is that I would not have enjoyed that difficult and hot hike nearly as much if I was balancing a heavier lens. It's not an insignificant difference. For me, this allowed me to hang the camera around myself crossbody and do the climbing and rock hopping that I needed to do to get up the trail. And if I had had the Leica 24-90 with me instead, I would have had to kind of juggle it in my hands as I was hiking because of its size and weight. It's a wonderful lens, but this guy is all about options and not thinking twice about grabbing it on your way out the door. The one question that I know will come up in the comments is the difference between 28mm and 24mm. I have used other zooms that start at 28mm, and my own Leica Q2 has a 28mm prime lens affixed, so I don't think you always need 24mm, but that is a personal preference. If you feel that the extra 4mm on the 24-70 f2.8 makes a big difference for you, check out Sigma's 24-70mm f2.8 DGDN art lens. It certainly isn't nearly as compact and lightweight as this new contemporary lens, but it is a great lens as well. Or maybe just a 24mm prime lens. Sigma also has a 24mm f3.5 DGDN contemporary that you might be interested in. I'll add links to all of those in the description of this video. If you have any other questions for me about this lens or anything really, I will meet you in the comments. If you are interested in learning more about photography, in addition to the videos that I share here every week, I have long-form courses on photography. Things like the basics of photography, classic portraiture, and right now I am working through a course on landscape photography. If you would like to see those courses, members have access to all of them. You can learn more about channel membership at the link in the description of this video. So, thank you to Sigma for allowing me to try out this lens, and thank you for watching.